Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday and welcome to the webinar, Inclusion During the Trump Era by Diversity Resources. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Eric Toll, President of Diversity Resources. And we have a lot of our team here today. We have Brendan, Cece, Shaima, and Wendy. In particular, I'm going to thank Shaima El Ghazali, our managing editor, for setting this up. So please feel free to ask questions anytime you want in the chat, and one of our team members will be happy to answer those for you. And about 20 minutes into the conversation, we will go ahead and open it up to questions that Shaima or I will go ahead and answer for you. So a little bit of background. Diversity Resources has been in business long, since before it was trendy. I believe Diversity Resources was founded in 1992. So we've been around 33 years, and we plan to be around another 33, which brings up the quote from Mark Twain: "Rumors of my demise are greatly exaggerated," and rumors of the demise of DEI are greatly exaggerated. We'll go into that in great detail. And one little bit of personal context, this work is very important to me. I am multicultural and multilingual. I'm neurodiverse. I'm a person with a disability, happily recovered, and I'm the proud father of a gay son. So I personally affiliate with at least 4 diversity groups. It's really important to me. This is the work that we do, and this is why we are here. So first of all, inclusion is alive and well. Yes, we live in challenging times. We're just going through a little bit of growing pains. First of all, there is no law against DEI. What there is an executive order, which affects employees at the federal level. And there are also a series of vague threats, with many of which probably have no enforceability. There is no law. And also there are lawsuits challenging this executive order, most famously a group that comprises US college professors, restaurant employees, and the city of Baltimore. They're challenging the constitutionality of this executive order. Also very important to note that most companies are staying the course. In fact, I don't know what the current statistics are, but as of a few weeks ago, 97% of the Fortune 500 still had a DEI statement on their websites, 97%. I'd say amongst our customers, we have hundreds of customers. Probably about 95% are staying the course. The only ones that are affected are, again, those employees at federal institutions, and we are looking to help them in every way, as well as institutions of higher education in states that have some sort of state level legislation against DEI initiatives. So again, 97% of the Fortune 500, about 95% of our customers. And in addition to names of organizations that have dialed back their inclusion efforts, there are just as many that have said the opposite. And they include Apple, Chase, Costco, Goldman Sachs, Major League Baseball and NFL, and American, Delta, and United. I don't know if any of those have made any announcements in the last day or two, but at least of a few days ago, those are some of the major leaders nationwide that are saying we're staying exactly the same course. And also, just to give a little bit of context, some of the companies that have come up in the news, Google made an announcement in the last few days. Well, Google didn't fire their CDO. They changed her job title. Her new job title is Vice President of Googler Belonging. Belonging and inclusion are very similar words. So, and I'm also going to share with you some statements from well-known organizations that have said they're dialing back their efforts or changing their efforts. And Shima, am I sharing my screen? Shima, can you hear me?
Yes, we can see the screen.
Great, thank you so much. So this is from Candy Castleberry at our friends at Amazon. All four of the statements you're about to see are statements made by leadership after they said they're adjusting their DEI initiatives. This is Amazon. We remain dedicated to delivering inclusive experiences for customers, employees, and communities around the world. So again, remain dedicated, inclusive. Ford Motor Company. Ford remains deeply committed to fostering a safe and inclusive workplace and develop a dealer body that reflects the communities they serve. Lowe's Home Improvement. We are committed to fostering an environment where all individuals are welcomed, valued, and respected. Our company mirrors the makeup of America. This is because of an inclusive search for talent. Again, all of these statements were made after or as part of their adjustments to DEI. And finally, Walmart. I mean, the last part of the quote is to be a Walmart for everyone. Every decision comes from a place of wanting to foster a sense of belonging. It's a very popular word right now. To open doors to opportunities for all associates, customers, and suppliers. Now, a lot of these sound very, very similar to mission statements that we've had in during the DEI era. So again, these are, it's just an extension of what we've done before. So why are businesses staying the course? Bottom line is inclusion is good for business. So we will share with you some statistics on exactly why it's good for business. This is a study from McKinsey. Ponder this number for just a moment, 35% increase in productivity. What would a company do to get a 3% increase in productivity? Companies that are inclusive have a 35% increase in productivity, 35. This is a study from a different organization. This is from Deloitte. They measured a 30% increase in productivity. Again, companies are battling to get a 5% or a 2% increase in productivity. Look at this, 30%. Better Up found a 56% improvement in job performance at companies where employees feel welcomed and belonging. And they reported a 50% reduction in the risk of turnover. They say that replacing an employee might cost 30% of their annual salary. So look at the financial gain you get just by keeping those. They say good help is hard to find. Well, it's also expensive to find. So companies are staying the course because inclusion is good for business. You know, there's the flip side of it too. Carrot and the stick. Part of the mission of being inclusive is to avoid bad PR, to avoid negative publicity. I'm going to mention, you know, Starbucks in Philadelphia. Everybody remembers that. Papa John's. John used the N-word during a meeting. Can't get away from that. Company's called Papa John's. And, you know, Uber with persistent allegations of harassment against women drivers and women passengers. I know Papa John's, at the time of the incident, they were growing about 17% a year. The year after that incident, their business went down about 20%. So whereas they would have grown another 17%, they actually went backwards 20%. So they lost about 37% of their business because of that incident. These are huge numbers. Also, you know, in the United States, 14% of people identify as Black, 19.5% identify as Latin. Those two diversity groups right there account for a third of this country. And I want to be respectful to any of our friends joining us from Canada or overseas. Most of our customers here in the United States, we're using examples from that today. What would a company do to gain 34% market share? So what exactly is happening? How are organizations changing? What should your organization do? Etc. There is a lot going on. There's a lot of dialogue, a lot of discussion, etc. A lot of changes. Number one is to avoid overreacting. One of the largest companies in the world, their immediate reaction was they had a temptation to run to the other side. But running away at the first sign of headwinds could have an unintended effect. I think what's really important for companies is to create a sense of inclusion and belonging for everyone in the country. So remember, the majority of Americans over the course of time are totally in favor of DEI. If your organization, for example, were to run away and abandon it, you're going to offend and lose that group. It's very important right now to avoid overreacting. It's important to have internal dialogues and discussions. Avoid overreacting. Number two is to get legal counsel. There's probably a wide variety of job titles, organizations, states or countries that are represented by the people on this call. I think that, the three questions to consider are, do you work in the federal government, or do you receive money from the federal government? That's a big consideration for your legal counsel. What state are you in? What state are you based in? Because there may or may not be specific state legislations that affect you. And finally, what exactly is your DEI program? Because there's a wide difference between having very strict hiring quotas versus celebrating Women's History Month. Celebrating Women's History Month, I'm just going to contend that's freedom of speech, and that will be continued. So those are the three things that I would recommend you consider with your legal counsel, and stay up to date on current changes. Again, there are lawsuits challenging this executive order. That's number one. Number two, probably the biggest thing that's going on, a lot of our customers are doing this is in the news a lot, is reconsidering the language that you use. To us, inclusion is all about word choice. Saying people with disabilities instead of handicapped, saying Indigenous Americans instead of Indian Americans. Inclusion is all about word choice. And even the work that we do, it's really important to choose our words carefully. So what is happening at present is some, not all, some organizations are perhaps reconsidering their use of the acronym DEI. And they're looking at other word choices, things like inclusion, community, belonging. Those are some words that people are considering. Diversity is diverse. Every organization represented on this meeting is diverse. So it's a great time to reflect on exactly what your organization's values are and what do you want to call this effort. Wendy Russell, who's on this call, Wendy and I have worked together on and off for the past 30 years. She thinks our tagline should be kind and prosper. Kindness is a wonderful value. What if you had a vice president of kindness or a chief kindness officer? Who's going to argue with that? So diversity is diverse, and the work of diversity and inclusion is becoming more diverse through word choice. So very important for your organization to meditate on that and to come up with language that works for you and your community. There is also a shift towards focusing on business outcome. So, for example, there is a shift from, affinity groups. There's a shift from calling something an ERG or employee resource group to calling it a BRG or a business resource group. They can be very similar. ERG, for example, might represent your employees of Latin heritage. That might be an ERG focused on their Latin heritage. The shift towards a BRG would be, how can employees of Latin heritage boost our business outcome? Well, again, 1 out of 5 Americans identifies as Latin. And if you have a group focusing on 1/5 of the market, that's that's going to give you a very favorable business outcome. So rethinking your inclusion efforts towards something that will improve the bottom line is not only good for business, but if you can tie these efforts to a proven business outcome, very good chance it will provide you legal protection if there's any sort of effort against your efforts. So again, tying your inclusion efforts towards business outcome and benefit can provide some legal protection for you. Another opportunity here is to engage in dialogue. Diversity is diverse. There are many facets to diversity. And one facet of that is diversity of political views. I have a couple of friends who vote differently than me. I engage in dialogues with them. We had a conversation on election day. Election day didn't go my way, but we had a dialogue about that. And I've asked them, what is it, to what degree do you feel threatened by DEI? And what is it that you don't like about it? Do you have a problem with being kind and polite? So having those respectful discussions. And finally, the concept of DEI and a meritocracy, and that's one of the big talking points from people who are against DEI, is this should be a meritocracy. DEI is not a threat to meritocracy. The two can go hand in hand. And I think the goal is to have a merit-based society that is also respectful and fair. It's not too much to ask. So one thing I would like to point out, and part of the reason that people have joined this call, is we offer a product that our diversity calendar, which we're actually in the process of renaming. Let me see if I can share my screen here. I will put this link in the chat. We are thinking of renaming this product Inclusion 365 because it offers a blend of micro trainings. That's something our customers asked for us, but also helps customers with respectful scheduling or inclusion opportunities. So for example, one of our best customers, R1, they have employees basically in 3 countries. They would probably and they have something like the global version of the calendar, but it's actually customized for them. They have employees in the United States, India, the Philippines. So we help them observe that, okay, in India, they don't celebrate the 4th of July, they have Independence Day. And recognizing the specific events of the Philippines also. So that is the way R1 is diverse. Another one of our great customers is Allstate. Allstate has customers in 5 countries: United States, Mexico, Canada, Northern Ireland, and India. That's how their calendar is set up. However, most of our customers do business in the United States, have employees in the United States. So there is a wide variety of events in there, as well as religious holidays, to help your people schedule respectfully. Most people on this call probably would not enjoy having to work on Christmas or the 4th of July. And this is giving that same respect and consideration to other cultures. The diversity calendar is super easy to use. There's no software to download. You just add it to your existing system, such as SharePoint, Outlook, Google, etc. It's really flexible. We have hundreds of subscribing companies. No 2 calendars look alike. Now, this flexibility is super important right now in the year 2025, because let's say, for example, because of the executive order, your organization is not allowed to use the word diversity. You can have a version of the calendar that is compliant with your needs. Every calendar can be customized to your exact needs. Because of that, there is a high likelihood that this is a way that your organization can continue this important work while being compliant. If there's a bit of content that wouldn't be compliant in your state or your industry, for example, that piece of content can be taken out. You can also add your own content. Our job here is inclusion. So I want to point out that our calendar includes a number of events of European heritage. There's Italian Heritage Month, Polish Heritage Month, Italian Heritage Month. Easter is always in our banner in the spring. Christmas always in the December. And in partnership with some of our companies, we've also added a lot of veterans content because veterans are increasingly seen as a diversity group. So our calendar is inclusive to all. It's not a threat to anyone. It also, 4 out of 5 employees who use it report they feel more engaged and belonging in the workplace. So it does work. And I'm going to share with you one of my favorite quotes from one of our customers. Bear with me one second. Here are some testimonials. I love this one from, let's see if I can find it. This is an Allstate employee. I've been with Allstate 24 years, literally one of the coolest things I've seen. I don't know how you keep up with the data. Bravo. This is not a DEI professional. This is just one of their employees that reached out to us. All right, I will wrap up and then we'll open it up to questions. If you're on this meeting, this is the work that we do. This work is really important. It's really important to stay the course. What if this DEI pushback, the next wave of it is women do not belong in the workplace. They should be pregnant at home and in the kitchen. We need to draw the line right here. This is the work we do. It's really important work. And again, I mentioned, I don't like it when people use my disability as a derogatory term. I don't like it when people use my son's sexual orientation as a derogatory term. And I don't like the fact that my partner or my daughters would be paid less than a man for the same work. This is really important work. It's really important we stay the course. All right, with that, I will open it up to questions, and we will also put in the chat the calendar to make an appointment with us to learn more about the calendar, as well as an email address at which you can reach me if you have questions about what's going on in your workplace and how it can be of help to you. Shaima, what questions do we have, please?
Well, please submit your questions in the chat right now, and we'll get to them. One of the questions was how it will affect government entities.
So there's the federal government and there are state governments. So the federal government, there's already, unfortunately, there's been a lot of change in that. Of course, anyone who was involved in DEI work, if I recall correctly, they were put on furlough and told that their job would end. So that's the federal government. State level, it depends on which state you live in. America is a patchwork of red states, blue states. Even so, only a handful of red states have had legislation that directly affects this. So, and city, we have a lot of partnerships with city government organizations, with state governments. We've been in touch with a lot of our customers and they're carrying on the work exactly as before. But again, because of the type of industry you're in, where your funding comes from, where you are geographically, really important to touch base with your legal counsel and, to keep an eye on the developments. These lawsuits might succeed. This might all go away. And I do want to point out this change. The fight is against something that Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, Bush 1, Bush 2, and Trump 1 were all part of their administrations. This is trying to repeal legislation from 60 years ago. So this has been ingrained in our society a long time. The opposite of fear is hope. Hope is the belief that things will get better. This executive order might get overturned by the courts. What other questions may I answer?
We have a few questions, Eric. One of them is, I would argue that it's not acceptable to say this. However, the question is, how do we address the fact that it has become acceptable to say I'm racist or I'm sexist?
So what's very important to understand, it's very important to understand exactly what those mean. Okay. So, we have some Indian associates in the last couple nights, and I love Ganesh. And the last couple nights at home, I made Indian food. And if I said Indian cuisine is delicious food, that's not racist. And if I said if they're great cooks, not racist. They're good in IT, not racist. Racist is the belief that your race is superior to another. So I would challenge people on that. If somebody says, yeah, I'm a racist, okay, well, if they're Polish American, are you saying Polish American is a superior race to any other? And the same thing with sexist. Sexist is the belief that, for example, if a man is sexist, he believes that women can't do things as well as men, which is, I'm reminded every day that's not true by my amazing team and my partner. So I would start with that discussion. Do you really believe that your race is superior to others? Anyway, I hope that was a helpful comment. What else?
We have some questions on terminology. Some are asking in regards to advice in regards to rebranding job titles that include DEI, and also if they should, in general, stand by DEI or not.
Okay, that's a fantastic question. And by the way, Shama, if you wouldn't mind sharing out the email address and the Calendly link to the group, I'm only able to send it to you apparently. So fantastic question. And there are certain, first of all, the acronym DEI has a bit of a target on its back right now. So that's really a choice to make at your organizational level. If for example, you are involved in education and you get a lot of money from the federal government, I would probably advise you to definitely look at other language. If you're Apple, by the way, Apple, I think one of the 2 most valuable companies in the world. And fun fact, Tim Cook is the first openly gay Fortune 500 CEO. Why did it take so long for any Fortune 500 CEO to come out and say, this is who I am? And he actually had to ask Anderson Cooper for advice on how to come out, so Apple has a lot of money and a big presence around the world. And I think, a government agency or not is going to have a hard time compelling them to change their language. We have had dialogues internally. We are exactly staying the course. This is what we do. We are not running away at the first signs of headwinds. We are discussing how to help there are certain customers who can't have a product called the Diversity Calendar, and they can't receive an invoice from a company called Diversity Resources. We're stopping emailing people in the federal government because we don't want that word to appear in their email that AI is looking through to find them and fire them. So we're staying the course, and we recommend to any organization that, especially if you're a for-profit company, maybe based in California, a blue state, business is good, stay the course as much as you can. Smaller organizations are maybe, and again, I didn't want to guide anyone with specific words you should run to, because if we all run to another word, let's say the new word is kindness, then that target is going to go from DEI to kindness. What we're seeing right now is dispersal to a variety of words. So reflect and meditate on what is important to your organization. And one of the nice things about our calendar, and why I think so many of our customers are sticking with us, is we have a variety of job titles who use it. People in HR, people in recruiting, engagement, retention, marketing, communications. You can continue this work while morphing your job title. But again, I'd go back to some of the points I made earlier, which is to stay in touch with legal counsel and focus on business outcomes. What other questions may I answer?
We have a question about how can we support the massive stress people are having in connection with all of this? And I think it's also related to another question about acknowledging this broken system so we can fix it. How do we support people?
Wow. Yeah. Fantastic questions. So number one, and not by coincidence, This quote comes from Abraham Lincoln. This too shall pass. 4 words. This is temporary. And again, speaking here to the United States and recognizing the fact that 96% of the world's population is not in the United States. The United States is only 4% of the world's population. But, Abraham Lincoln, and we all know what a great contribution he made in our society. This too shall pass. This is temporary. We have been morphing towards a more inclusive society for decades and hundreds of years. I want to point out it was only around 105 years ago that women got the right to vote in this country. That event is noted in our calendar. It's called Women's Equality Day. It's in the month of August. So think back 105 years ago, or I don't remember the exact year, women couldn't vote. So we've made progress. And Rosa Parks, that work has not been undone. That is the direction we're heading in as a society and as a world, and we will continue to do so. And if you look at the favorability of inclusion, it increases with younger generations. And, my son, who is gay, who's now 30, I asked him what his experience was like in high school, because he didn't come out till college. And he said it didn't affect his experience at all. His generation is very inclusive and respectful. So we're going to continue morphing in that direction. And another thing is to think about, you really understand how important something is to you when you're threatened with losing it. So I personally would feel horrible if all this progress was undone. So yes, I've been working more hours. Yes, we as a team have been working more creatively. Yes, we are checking in with all of our customers. What's going on for you? How can we help you? If they're having their budgets taken away, we're going to give it to the product to them for free. We are here to help and to serve. So, if you've ever done any weightlifting, that resistance, that work makes you stronger. And I think that's what's going on too. This will just make us stronger, and we need to bind together as a community. And again, my email address is ceo@diversityresources.com. Shoot me an email, how I can help. I'm here to help and serve.
Thanks, Eric. I shared the email in the chat
Thank
as
you.
well. We do have a few people who are curious, since companies are reevaluating the terminology. They're asking if we are considering changing our company name.
Diversityresources.com will continue to exist for another 33 years. That said, if this is of important interest to you, we have a partner company through which you can have similar benefit in a way that is compliant. And again, reach out to me, schedule an appointment with our sales team. We are staying the course. Again, this company has existed for 33 years. We're not going to run away now. In fact, honestly, we're a team of 12 people. We are kind of having fun with the challenge. We're treating it like a puzzle. We're going to do the work. We're going to grow. We're going to help more people despite the adversity. If you, in your state or because you work for a government entity or you get government funding, there's certain language you need to avoid, be in touch with us and we can help you do that through a partner company. What other questions may we answer, please?
I think we've answered most of them. We are a little over time, but if you have any final questions that you'd like us to answer before we end, please let us know in the chat. We'll give it another minute or two, but thank you so much for all your great questions. We're also seeing some great discussions in the chat, Eric. Some are saying that to involve a lot of people in the different discussions, different, legal, leadership, advisory, clients, members, to ensure that leadership needs to listen. And it's really great advice.
Yeah. And again, and I mean, look, we love our calendar. It's what we make. It's what we do. We're these little mad scientists that try to keep improving this product. But, I used to summarize the benefit of our product in 6 words: respectful scheduling, inclusion opportunities, educational tools. Respectful scheduling. Again, I wouldn't want to work on the Christmas or 4th of July. And, Shaima is Muslim, Wendy is Jewish. They want their equivalent of Christmas respected. By the way, it's not Hanukkah or Ramadan. Our calendar will teach you, what their actual equivalent is and which days they need to not work. Inclusion opportunities, Women's History Month, Black History Month this month. I'm going to continue to celebrate Black History Month. Absolutely. And educational tools, some of our educational tools are recipes. Or, we have Christian dietary considerations. First, I did that research and I was like, well, Christians don't have dietary considerations. I'm like, Eric, be open-minded, go research. Well, they sure do. What is fasting during Lent? So, yeah, and look, if you don't want our calendar, or if you don't have the budget, it's these types of low-level things, innocuous things that you can continue to do to make everyone feel included and belonging. Yeah, there are many ways to continue the work as part of other work or under a variety of names. But yeah, again, this is super important stuff that we do. Any other questions?
I think that's it.
All right, again.
People are enjoying the discussions, but I think that's it for questions.
CEO@diversityresources.com. It does not have to be a business related question. It can be anything. So people in my department are wigging out. Can you suggest a meditation practice? Seriously, we're here to help. We're here to serve. So yeah, and we're not changing our company name or our mission. In fact, we're just going to grow and help more people. So, all right. Thank you so much for joining us.